Do we have anything that looks causey? It's always a question, like, how do you know what looks causey? But sometimes you do. So a single grain of rice is enough to tip the scales from defeat to victory. Maybe we could use something like barus. Kind of like that. Barus. My focus is drifting a bit. Narrow that, put the blinders on, and let's finish this. Oh, hi, I didn't see you walk in there. Welcome. We are about to continue on our journey through our as of yet unnamed analytic conlang, and this time, having just finished translating The North Wind and the Sun, we are now going to translate a bunch of fun fables and start to develop our vocabulary a little bit more. And we're going to concentrate on making sort of large-scale metaphors that run throughout the whole language. So we're going to try and get some really core vocabulary down. So that's what we're going to do. And without further ado, let's just go over to this screen. I know I always have to come up with a new shtick for the intro because it's super boring just to say the same thing every time. So I kind of ad-lib it. Let's make some proverbs. Does anyone have a proverb they'd like translated? Particularly one that fits with the ethos of this, or we don't have an ethos for them yet, but we'll be building one up. Okay, I see some good ones. So don't judge a book by its cover. Okay, I'm gonna have to just. Don't judge a book by its cover. The sea frees all souls. Brilliant. That's going to come in handy. A single grain of rice is enough to tip the scales from defeat to victory. Okay. Why don't we start with those? And I think I need more spots above this. Okay, so don't judge a book by its cover. We have to make a big decision here. Okay, I got a few more and I'm just going to put them in. Ask the experienced rather than the learned. Actions speak louder than words. Make sure you have enough coconuts. All right. Okay, we are going to have, oh my goodness. We have got a lot of good ones. Thank you so much. All right. So let's start asking some questions. Violet asks a good one here. What is a book? We have to make some decisions. So the idea behind not judging a book by its cover is that, the appearances of something can be deceiving. However, having books with covers on them that try to tell you about the contents of the book is very culturally specific. And probably I wouldn't say, we haven't made a lot of decisions, but I'm imagining our proto-language is spoken by a pre-modern people, a culture without writing, presumably, because if it's a proto-language, it's reconstructed and not from attested forms. And so if they don't have attested forms, then presumably they don't have any way of attesting forms, such as writing. So I'm thinking we do not have a society with writing. We have to come up with a different way of expressing this concept. Okay. I'm just gonna add in a few more from the chat. We're not going to get to all of these today, but we will get to all of them eventually, I think. Okay. So, Violet brings up, don't judge a fruit by its peel. Oh, I like that. We can actually do several versions of this proverb too, which we may want to do. But let's try this one. Don't judge a fruit by its peel. So we need to do a little retranslation. Don't judge a fruit by its peel. Okay, so what's going on here grammatically? Now that we've sort of taken the metaphor and put it into something that makes more sense for our proto-culture or whatever we're trying to work with here. Now we have to think about the grammar of it. So we have a negative imperative. Don't. We have this construction, judge something by something. This is kind of interesting. So how are we going to translate that? Because this seems fairly, I don't know. I wouldn't say English specific, but probably standard average European. So we could do something like, negative imperative. Whether we want to have a special particle for this, I don't know. We could use our use coverb. So use, peel, judge, fruit. That I think would work. So then I don't think we have anything for this, but we may. So we have a word for clothes. What if appeal and clothes were considered to be sort of in the same sort of thing, right? The clothes of a person are like the peel of a fruit. And so the word for, I believe, ngles, is it? Ngles is our word for clothes. Maybe this also means peel or bark, or hull of a ship, maybe. I don't know. What if we did that? So clothes, peel, bark, outer coating of any kind. So right away we have something, was it nom to use? Yeah, nom, ngles, and then we need something judge, fruit. Okay, I think we can safely have a root for fruit. That seems something fairly important. Skin. But then what's the word for skin? That's a good point. Well, maybe it's something that you wouldn't necessarily always have to distinguish. The context could tell you, like if someone's taking off their ngles, it means that that they're taking off their clothes and not their skin. And then we'd have a special way of disambiguating. Maybe there would be something like second ngles or over ngles or something like that. Or something like some word that meant like civilized, or like, I don't mean civilized, but in the sense of like referring to the sort of in group. Often you'll have a word like that, and maybe like cultured or something like that. So cultured less would be clothes. Oh yeah, we could reduplicate it. That's a good point. We could be like, no. Less. Like the English reduplication. You talk of his skin. Well, not his skin. His skin. Not his skin. His skin. Yeah. Okay. I'm satisfied with that. So basically, if we just sing less, you're left to figure it out for yourself, and then we can disambiguate it with either with ad hoc modifiers, or with something like reduplication, or so let's put in the reduplication as canonical. Yeah, so any other covering of any kind. Okay. So we need now a word for judge, fruit, and the negative imperative. Many languages use a word, let's consider the special morphology for this. Some languages use things like do not or be unwilling to do so. So we could use something like that. Something like not want. Yeah, why don't we do that to start with? So do we have negation? I don't think we do. Neg, not, no. Okay, so we need negation, and we need something like want. Okay, we don't have that, so let's just use a not want negation like Latin has. So we need two of these. All right. Thoughts. Let's go back to our little area where we've got everything. We have to find some things. So we need something for not, something relatively simple. Maybe something like tar. It could be our negator. Something like tar. And then we need something for want. And since these things are going to be said together, we should make something where they work together really nicely. So something like tar, targa, tarsu, tarnga. Maybe su, tarsu. So when you're telling someone not to do something, you say tarsu, blah, 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 blah. That could be good. So let's see what that looks like. So that's a negative imperative. Tarsu nom les, judge fruit. Okay, super. I have to say, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the chat, so I apologize if I have missed something that you said. I'll be sure to kick myself for it later. But I think it's also a good thing because it means that we have such a great, big, lively community here. So silver lining and everything. Silver less, I guess you could say. Okay, so then we have lots of good stuff here. Okay, so I want to take Moontruther's example but I think tarsre is going to be hard for me to say a lot, and I think we should take sre and put it somewhere else. So let's take another let's use this for another grammatical morpheme that we're going to come up with soon. Set think. Okay, so then going through fruit, tairun, we can't use tairun as a single morpheme because the minor syllable has to be CV, and so we can use tarun. That would work. So why don't we do that? So tarun. And while we're talking about fruit, a very common polysemy is fruit, outcome, result. So we can use that. And then we have something from Raven saying that judge is going to be bimorphemic. I like that. So set think. So let's use this. Set think, and then judge is going to be these two together. I'm going to do a hydration break. 1 sec. Tay style. All right. Going back in the chat. George West is asking why Google Sheets rather than Excel. That's a good question. I just tend to use the Google Docs and Google Sheets over the Microsoft products. I guess it's a force of habit. I don't know. They seem to work a little bit better on the web than the Microsoft ones do, but I could be wrong about that. I could be on outdated assumptions. Okay, so let's come up with some set think. Oh, sorry. Before I do that, I want to just reply to Zachary. We use the verb suffer for the malefactive. Oops. Don't move that. Suffer for the malefactive passive. It's just up here. Ngasir. Okay. So tarsu, nom ngles. And then we have this bimorphemic thing that has set and think in it. So we need some forms for that. So I'm going to put this up. So you can see, I don't know, this is in, what's it called? Lexifer format. So we can go lexifer. And we can just put this in. And get a bunch of fun stuff. So one of these, maybe, although I think there's a mistake in here. Yeah, because we shouldn't be able to have denik or yotap. It should be dinik and yutap. But why not? So I like that. I want something monosyllabic for set and disyllabic for think. I don't know why. It's just something like maybe dos for set and rakit for think. Dos rakit. So dos rakit. Set think. Okay. Lucy, roger that. I will stay online at the end of the stream. We'll have a little post-stream party, and we'll do the chat checks, technical details. Okay, so dos rakit. Let's go back to this, and let's go back to our worksheet. And dos rakit. So do not use the peel to judge the fruit. Did we have fruit? We do tarun. So here is our proverb. Tarsu nom les dos rakit tarun. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I'm going to stop for a second to catch up on the chat. Okay. So if I've made something and I see the chat afterwards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that form and I'm going to leave it as one of our, as one of our next things to fill. So that's because unfortunately, there's a bit of a lag. So by the time I've come up with something and then I see the chat. So anyway, yeah. So there's been some cool discussion in the comments section about doing a series on a posteriori conlangs. So essentially to take a natural language and then to derive a sort of alternate history language from that. So the classic example of these is the so-called romlangs, where people make Romance languages up. So it's fairly easy to find forms, Latin or spoken Latin forms that you can use to derive new Romance languages, and that's great fun. And I've definitely done that a few times. So we could do something like that. The other thing, George points out we could do a Slavic language. I don't know as much about Slavic languages, so that there'd be some research. Not that I have any problem with that. That's kind of my thing. There's also the potential of doing a Germanic language, which I do know a little bit more about the history of that family. So, yeah. And then we could also do. I'm going to go to the full screen because I feel like just no distractions when we talk about this kind of stuff. We could also do mashups, which are really fun. So basically, you take one language family. So say you're making a Romlang, a Romance language, and then you try to make a descendant of those languages that resembles a completely different language. So you could do something like, I think the classic example of this has been the Celtic Romance languages that have been done by people whose names I don't remember, but they're really great conlangers back in the early days. Brachanach and Brethanic, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the second one in particular correctly, but these are essentially Latin with Welsh or Irish sound changes applied to them, and so that you get a Romance language that looks like modern Irish or modern Welsh. There are, of course, all these sorts of other ones. I've even made a a sort of like Mandarin influenced Romance language. So I think it was called something like Mansheng, where that came from like Romana lingua through a bunch of malarkey that I do not remember and probably wasn't based in much of anything. But that was kind of fun. And yeah, so that's something we could definitely do. I don't know. I'm into it. I'll just say that we'll have to plan that out though to do it properly. Okay. So I'm gonna go back. I'm just gonna look at these things. Kolsi would not fit the structure. That's true actually, but Kosli would. So let's scoot back and Kosli. That would work. All right, let's do another proverb, shall we? The sea frees all souls. So something like, and here we have another, proverbs are great because you end up doing a lot of cultural work. You get to see the assumptions that are at play. So souls, that's not something that this concept is not something that's going to be universal. The idea that there's a sort of a bifurcation between one's body and one's soul is definitely, it's perhaps widespread, but it cashes out differently in different times and places. And so, especially the idea that there's a soul that's kind of trapped and could be freed, that I think is building in a lot. So how are we going to reconstruct this? And Raven knows the language better than I do. So Kusli, yes, good. Well done. You deserve you deserve some sort of a crown or something. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we're talking about a culture that is animist, in which there are souls in various things, and maybe some of them are less free than others, and then the sea does something that can free them. I'm kind of thinking of that. Isn't there a Leonard Cohen line, something about the sea freeing them? I don't know. The old things that you hear on record players when you're a kid. Anyway, I remember you weren't allowed to. This is my only recollection of that era, is that you weren't allowed to dance around while the record player was on because it would skip. I remember always getting yelled at for that. Things would come on and then I'd start, as a little kid, just started dancing around, and then stop dancing. The Raffi record won't play properly. So okay, well we can do at least this. Sea free soul all. And then we're going to put a big asterisk on soul as to whether this is the translation that we want. Soul, spirit, maybe even life would be a better translation. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm really liking this. I'm really liking this idea of the sneeze being related to soul. So what do we have for sneeze? Tikal. What if there's some tantalizing hints of earlier stages of the language where there was perhaps some derivational morphology going on in these minor syllables, which are no longer productive, but in some cases you can see instances of them. So maybe we have something like kal being soul, spirit, life. Yeah. And then tikal has some relation to that, but we don't know what it is. And we have to figure it out. Breath is also a very common thing, especially, look at the word for spirit. It's not an accident that there's that SPIR in there, as in respiration. So we have something like this: breath, soul, spirit, life. So let's do it. So we need C. Do we have the C? We don't have the C? We gotta get the C. C. I don't think we have free, but we have kal and we have nok. I think it is. Nok all. Yes, nok. Oh, and all and hope are homophonous. Oh, okay, it's fine. We're gonna leave it. Okay, so we need the C, freeze also. So we need something for the C and something for free. And I don't know if we want free to be morphologically simple. Sometimes that isn't. Okay, we've got some really good ideas coming here. Really good convolving ideas. The plans are underway to start to do some more in-depth convolving for this. Some world building, some fun stuff. Can we have kusli as C? Yes. I promised that I would use these, so we will use them. And I really like that word for C. And as Violet said, we have this kind of phonesthetic thing where S's and L's are referring to water. And I really think that this sneezing and breath and moment, this kind of complex of concepts is kind of a cool one that we're going to be able to come back to again and again and to play with. So I'm excited about that. Similarly, we have this stream. We have this kind of complex where navigation through water plays a central role in the metaphorical lives of this culture. So we have things like obstacles being referred to as streams, not because you can't walk across them on land, but because you can't sail down them. We also have a similar one. Where is it? Mot, which means ship or boat or house. And this is coming from a time when perhaps certain people lived on, for lack of a better term, houseboats. So that's kind of cool too. Okay. So freedom. Yeah, okay. So instead of having a simple verb free, we could have something like release to freedom. And then we're still, of course, stuck with the question of what to do with free, but I like that. So release. And this release could be something that shows up in a lot of compounds. I like that a lot. So release and then to. We don't have anything for to yet. I'd like to have a verb go to. Please don't do that, Google. Go to. Maybe sre could be go to. That's a very central verb. I think we should use a form like sre there. Freedom could be the ocean. I really like that idea. Okay, so instead of release, we could use, taking Sparsha's idea here, some sort of a cause. So make go to freedom. I like that. So let's come up with some sort of a cause. Morpheme. Let's go back to our generated stuff here. Do we have anything that looks causey? It's always a question, like, how do you know what looks causey? But sometimes you do. Maybe something like tam. Tam sre. And then free. Yeah, there has to be a difference between something being free and setting something free. Well, I mean, there doesn't have to be, but in this case, I think there will be, because we're going to have this, instead of saying free, as a verb, I free you, it would be cause to go free, where to go is interpreted as cause to go to freedom. Sorry, go to. In other words, to free. So it's going to be a more complicated structure. So it'll be something like tam sre, and then we need a word for freedom still. I like this idea of the ocean being related to freedom, but I agree that we having the ocean send you to the ocean ends up being a bit off. But maybe there's something, maybe we have another one of these. I think Logan called it, I think I saw it come up, taxidermy. What was the phrase? Taxidermied morphology. That's a great coinage. I like that. So maybe it's something like sli. And we're left to wonder, what's the relationship between sli, free, and kusli, sea? With the idea that the sea is a place of free navigation. I guess that's not true. I'm not a sailor, but more free than a river, I'd suppose. I'm just showing my utter ignorance about all things nautical. So this is a good opportunity to learn. All right, so then here we would have something like tam sre sli. So kusli, tam sre sli kalnok. Cause go to... it's always going to do that. I'm never going to be able to stop it. Okay. All right. So it seems that we have a lot of resonances with the historical Polynesian cultures, which I'm quite ignorant about. So if anyone can recommend a book that is a good overview of that history, I would be all eyes or all ears or whatever the case may be for a book. So whether that's in the chat now or later on YouTube, if you're seeing the comments and there's something that you can recommend, something maybe anthropological or historical to read about the I don't even know what the way to refer to it would be, but the expansion of Polynesian languages and that sort of historical context that led to that would be very cool. So yes, and podcast recommendations are absolutely fair game. I would love, that's a great idea. I'm all ears. Yeah, perhaps they're using rafts. Perhaps they're using something like canoes. I don't know. Okay, Lucy's telling me I should advertise the Discord challenge. So if you're watching this and you are the kind of person who likes coming up with, I'll just go to who likes coming up with related language families. We're doing a fun thing coming up at the end of this month, which is March 2022, and April, where we have two teams, each of which is creating a language family. And then what's going to happen is they will give the descendant languages, a set of cognates in these descendant languages, to me to work out the proto-language on stream live along with the other team. And then we'll take turns and we'll swap. So in both cases, I'm going to be the one in the hot seat, sweating bullets, trying to figure out the reconstruction, but I'll be helped by the other team if they're available at the time of the stream. So that's coming up, and that's going to be fun. And Discord is back now, so you can go on the Discord, which I believe is in the description. There should be a link, and you can join. And we have actually, I'm proud to say, a very active community on there now, talking about all sorts of linguistic, language, conlangs, linguistics, ancient languages, modern languages, all sorts of fun stuff on there, world building kinds of things. And so if you're interested in that, go on the Discord and ask Lucy and she will get you set up. So that is fun. And there's, oh, okay, Zachary, that's you. Excellent. You've already got 2 branches. Oh, hard at work. Much appreciated. I can't wait. So I'll return now to our task at hand. Okay, so a single grain of rice is enough to tip the scales from defeat to victory. All right, so we have some work to do here. And so I can identify the one thing that I think we're going to have to consider, which is, well, 2 things. One, does this culture cultivate rice? Let's say for the sake of argument they do. So we need something like 1 grain rice enough, or is enough, some sort of verb that means enough. And then we have this phrase to tip the scales. And this is, I think, where we're going to have to make a change. Because what's a scale? Yes, as you point out, do they have scales? Perhaps not. So what can we do? How can we rewrite this in a different, perhaps more literal way, or in a metaphor that makes sense for this language? So what is happening when we tip the scales from defeat to victory? We're avoiding defeat and attaining victory. We are maybe we can do it like that, just simple, fairly literal. Or maybe, rice 1 grain, head initial. Okay, all right. Although, well, that's assuming that the rice is the head, right? That would be kind of like a numeral classifier situation. But if it's literally 1 grain, genitive rice, then it would be the other way around, wouldn't it? Nevertheless, I like this better. Rice 1 grain is enough. And this also lets us interpret it as topic comment. As for rice, 1 grain is enough. So I like that. Okay, so I really like this. I really like, okay, so stuff's going by. I feel like the guy in the Matrix where it's just, okay, so the heading of the boat. I'm going to pick up on this one. So 1 grain of rice. So this maybe mixes the metaphors a bit, but we'll come back to it. Is enough to turn the boat from defeat to victory. And then I think we might want to change it from a grain of rice, because I love this metaphor. So what if it's a gust of wind, a single gust of wind? So wind 1 gust. Turn away from storm to safety. Maybe something like that, or to harbor. Okay, and we have a lot of these words already. This is kind of cool. Because we have, where is our word for wind? We just talked about the north wind, pana. We have a numeral 1, dru. I think we even have a word for gust, which is huhu, a blow or a blast. We need something for enough. Do we have something for turn? I don't think we have anything for turn yet, so we'll need something like that. I believe mot is our word for boat. And we don't have a word for from, I think, but we do have a word for storm, which also means power. And we have a verb for, oops, don't delete things, to go to, which is our to, and then we need something for harbor. So we have 4 words to do. Enough, turn, from, harbor, and from is a verb. So to go from. So then Raven points out that there's in Thai there's a particle or a preposition for in order to. Yeah, maybe we could make this we could take a page from, say, Mandarin and use a verb like to come for that. If I'm interpreting Mandarin correctly, it's a bit my lower intermediate brain is the gears are turning and trying to remember things. But I think, let me just, I'm going to take a brief moment and look up. Hold on, I might have to make sure I don't show this on the screen because I don't want anyone to get angry at me. I'm going to look up my grammaticalization book. And in order to... Ooh, okay, purpose. So purpose is going to be able to come from, to come to give, to go to. We can use our verb to go to. That works. Okay, let's just use that, sre. And I mean, this is what English has as well in a way, isn't it? To. So, back to this. So, but we are right. We need a sre here. It's made it into a link again. I'm sorry. It always does this. There we go. Okay. So we need something like... Okay, me mistake points out that we could, the verb that is meaning suffice could be related to fullness or wholeness. So, unfortunately, I think this will just full. I don't think we have anything for that. So let's say full, whole, suffice. And then we need something like that. So maybe this is also related to the verb to fill, to make full or whole. And maybe it's also related to the verb to heal, to make something whole again, right? So that would work. We just need a form for it. So let's go back to our list of forms. It's just what do we have here? Maybe we could use something like barus. I kind of like that. Barus. And then we need something for turn, enough, from, and harbor. So let's go for, oops, so this is enough. So we don't need that anymore. I'll fix this up and make it a bit nicer later. But barus, we need something for harbor. And, harbor could also metaphorically mean safety. I think that's a pretty safe polysemy. One thing that we've been doing so far, for the most part in this language, is that we've been keeping these, keeping words like to be full and to fill exactly the same morphologically. So we have this this alternation in English where some of our verbs, look at the example of rise and raise. So you have this kind of causative alternation where something is going up, it rises. If you're making something going up, it raises. You raise it. And so what I've been doing so far with this is just leaving that morphology unmarked. And so in that case, for something to be full and to make something full, fulfill in English, but it would be the same morphology in this proto-language. So let's get das Lor in here for harbor. That's nice. And yusu. Indeed, this is ambitransitivity. And yusu maybe can be turn. And then to go from, let's say something nice and short, maybe something like ra. Okay, so yusu. So let's just go back to our thing here, and we have the ability to say parus, sre, yusu, mot, ra, nisun, sre, das Lor. Boom. Okay, Logan has a good point here. So the alternation is normally the causative inchoative alternation. So to become full rather than to be full, if they can be used as verbs with that derivation. Okay, that's a good point. So maybe we can have this become full, fill, become full. Yeah. I'll have to think about that a bit. I think that's going to be, that may have some ripples. So I'm gonna double check that and not think at the blackboard. I'll put a little note here. Sorry, you can't read that, but I'm just writing a little note to myself to look into what Logan mentions, because I think that's an interesting area to investigate. Okay. Yeah, maybe they do live in an archipelago. We're going to do some maps at some point. It's going to be fun. I didn't say anything. Okay. So I think, what should we do? What should we do now? We have, let's do one more. Let's do one more, and then we'll stop, and we will go, and I'll stay on for a little bit to mess with the chat settings with Lucy. So you're welcome to stick around for that. I think, right, Lucy? That's fine. Maybe it would actually help. I don't know. Okay, so ask the experienced rather than the learned. Okay. So what's going on here? So we have been using this kind of, these constructions like, instead of powerful, we use one who has power. So the ahu nisun, one who has power or who has power. So I think we're going to want to use something like that for the experienced, the learned. So something like have experience, have learning. So how can we start this? So ask, we don't have, we could have an explicitly marked imperative form, but maybe we will, maybe we won't. Let's just say we won't for now, and we can add that later. Ask the one who has experience rather than. Maybe something like, well, we could use the etymology of the English word rather than, which comes from an Old English word meaning fast. So rather is actually faster. So if you are asking, if you're doing something rather than something else, you would be faster to do thing A than thing B. So maybe we can do something like quick, and then our comparative, which comes from the word for cross, to cross. And then we do rel, have learning. So we have some of these things. Oh, cool. Okay, Logan just pointed out some really cool cross-linguistic facts about languages that have this alternation where attributives are interpreted statively, and incodatives are predicates are. How did I start that sentence? Predicates are interpreted incodively. That's cool. Okay, so ask, who, experience, quick. And I don't know if we want this this clause to be after. I have to think about that for a second. Que. So let's just do our usual thing here. Experience, ask, quick, que, who, learning. Okay. My focus is drifting a bit. Just narrow that, put the blinders on, and let's finish this. So, do we want this clause here? Actually, not really a clause, but ask one who has experience. I don't think this should go here. Where's it going to go? Maybe something like I'm stumped. What's the grammar going to be? Chat, help me. We have this sentence which literally means ask one who has experience more quickly, or quickly crossing one who has learning. Yeah, I hear you, Raven. Well, maybe what we should do is we should leave this as an exercise, a homework exercise for myself. Let's consider this word order as a tentative one. We can leave it as is. Let's finish up by just giving our creating our word shapes, and then we'll call it a day. And then I think we should all be very proud of ourselves today. We've done very good work. Okay, so we need something like experience, we need something like ask, quick, and learning. And we're going to have to do some complications, what is experience, what is learning? But we can do that later. There is no dummy subject. This is a pro-drop language or a null subject language, so we don't need that. Yeah, something like take priority over. So instead of quick, maybe it's something like take priority over. Yeah, I think my brain is running out of fuel to contemplate these heady matters. So let's put a pin in that for now, and let's get some word shapes here, and then we'll all go to a very well-deserved relaxation. Or at least I will. I hope you will too. So ask. Something maybe like Treu. I like that. Treu. I think quick should be relatively kiki, as opposed to booba. And if you don't know what those are, Google that. We're not going to get to the coconuts today, sadly. But don't worry, we will return to this. We've got a lot of work to do, a lot of work up in front of us. And I'm going to stay on this proto-language for a while this time, and I won't just flit around to descendant languages too quickly. He says today, but you know. Okay, so let's... I think we've used puis already, actually. Maybe pli. Yon for quick. All right, I'm in. Yon. And learning could be something like... Did we use daram already? I like that. Daram. And then experience. Experience is the one that I'm kind of iffy on, because that seems a bit derived. Maybe we could say, instead of have experience, we could say something like who has seen much. And so do we have a word for much? Okay, tap is coming in from the chat. So much, we don't have. Seen much, having done much. Yeah, this kind of thing. Having many deeds. So we'd have something like who, and then many could be this word. Oh no, what was I going to do? Tap. Much, many. And to have experience is to have deeds many. So what was our word to do? Sra. Hu sra tap. To have many deeds. To have done many deeds is how we'd interpret it, I guess. Experience. Fine. So ask who sratap. Yon kwe ahu daram. And maybe we could do something like daram tap, much learning. And so in this case, we would say deed much. And then we just have to put our ask in here, treu. So our third proverb comes out to something like treu ahu sratap yon kwe ahu daram tap. I like it. We're going to have to revisit the grammar because my brain is just sort of starting to... Okay, one more thing. Okay, before my brain shuts off altogether. I like this. So instead of saying someone who's learned, so instead of using learning, maybe this is the word to hear. Hear, learn. Yeah. So and here we have almost like this interesting kind of perfect emerging in the same way as English or the Romance languages. One who has do much. One who over one who has heard much. I don't know if we're going to keep that. We may want to change that. That might be a little too close to home, but for now, I think we can keep it. I really love this parallelism. So this is a great thing in a proverb. Trewahu sratap, yon kweahu daramtap. So you have this nice structure. I like that. Okay. All right. That's it. That's it for me. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say thank you to all of you for joining. We are going to, so I'll say goodbye to the people who are viewing on YouTube in the future. Thank you again so much. If you do like this sort of vibe, I mean, if you've watched by now, you might as well just subscribe because, you know, you're already committed. You've already bought into all this sort of bouncing back and forth and the mistakes on Google Sheets and everything. So yeah, you might as well just subscribe. Otherwise, we will see you next time.